Hi everyone, it's Martin Kelleher for IT Tech Consulting Incorporated, Chicago-based IT managed services firm. We will provide all your IT managed services for you here in the Chicagoland area. Give us a call, check out our website, email us, contact us. The contact information is in the description of this video. Let's get started. This is a how-to tutorial for the VLOOKUP function in Microsoft Excel 2016. So let's get started. So imagine, if you will, you've got two sets of data and you need to compare the two sets and you need to match some stuff up and you need to extrapolate some data from one set of data to the other. And so what we want to do here is we want to look at the employee ID and we want to get a first name and a last name for this employee ID from this large set of data. Now that's also, imagine, if you will, that this is a list of 10,000 names. So right now we could easily do this by hand. It wouldn't take very long, but it would be kind of painstaking and not very efficient. So let's look at the more efficient way of doing it. VLOOKUP, V stands for vertical. We're going to use a vertical column here and we're going to compare it to another vertical column and we're going to bring over what we're looking for if we find a match. So let's go ahead and pick the cell that we want. In this case it's I5, and let's start our function. So all Excel functions start with what? Of course we know they start with an equal symbol. Equal, in this case VLOOKUP. And if you notice that the VLOOKUP looks for the value in the leftmost column of a table and then returns the value in the same row for the column that you specify. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and put an open parens. Whoops, that was the number 9. Open parens. And when I do, that's better. Open parens. The minute I put the open parens, you'll notice that it gives me the VLOOKUP tooltip. And it's telling me that I need 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments to finish this function. The first argument is the lookup value. What is it that we're looking up? Well, in this case, we're looking up the employee ID. So let's just go ahead and select G5 and excuse my ESPN app for making the noise. But we select G5 because that's what we want to look up. That's the value, this employee ID. Then we're going to separate this argument with a comma. That's how you always separate arguments in Excel. And the minute I type in the comma, you'll notice that the tooltip changes and says the next thing it wants in bold here is the table array. So the table array is from B5 to D17, and I could simply type in B5 colon D17, right? I could simply do that, and I can put a comma, and I'm good, right? And that works. And notice that Excel put a red line around it. The other way I can do that is, and maybe a simpler way, is to select cell B5 and drag down to cell D17. Does the same thing. You know, it gives you the same range reference for the table array. So the next thing I'm going to do is separate this argument by a comma. Again, I hit the comma, and what does my tooltip do? My tooltip immediately says column index number. Now, this is where a lot of people make a mistake, okay? So the first thing we're looking for is the first name. Now, notice that the first name is in this column, not in this column. So what are we looking for? Well, this is actually, you can't see it because the VLOOKUP tooltip is in the way, but this is actually in column D, right? Actually, I can show you that. All right, so you see it's in column D, right? So what does that mean? So do we need, now I'm going to come back here, we're going to lose that D. So I need a column index number. I can't really put a D in there, right? Because that's not a number, although that does seem to make sense. Well, what about 1, 2, 3, 4? It's the fourth column, so should I put a 4 in there? That's what I want to bring back. No, neither of those are correct. What we really want to bring back is the column index number from this column array. And so this column array has got 1, 2, 3 columns, so we want to bring back the value that's in the third column. So I'm going to type in the number 3. I'm going to separate that argument with a comma, and we've only got two choices, true or false. True will give you an approximate match, false gives you an exact match. So I want an exact match, so I'm going to choose false, and I'm going to close this VLOOKUP function with a closed parens, and that should do it. So when I hit enter on the keyboard, you notice that VLOOKUP returns the value of Michael based on 602693. There's 602693 based on the third column, 1, 2, 3, Michael, and it returns that value here as an exact match. Okay, so that's what we wanted. Now, let's talk about using the fill feature. So if I drag this straight down, what happens? Nah, that didn't look right, right? I got a bunch of errors and I don't know what's going on here. So let's go ahead and delete that and talk about what's going on there. Whoops, I deleted too much. Control Z. So let's just delete from here down. What we need to do is we need to add some absolute cell references to stop Excel from anticipating what it is that we want when we drag our functions down or drag our functions across. So the easiest way to do an absolute cell reference is to select the cell that you're looking for and hit F4 on the keyboard, and you'll notice that Excel will precede these numbers, these characters and numbers, with a dollar symbol. The dollar symbol actually locks the cells in. So I did the same with B5, and now I'm going to do the same with D17. I'm actually just hitting F4 on the keyboard, okay? And so that did it right there. So now let's go ahead and see if my function still works. Okay, it seems to be. It's still giving me Michael. Now if I drag it across, let's see what happens. Oh, Michael. That doesn't seem to be working. What's wrong with that? Huh. I don't know. Let's kind of take a look. Well, why is it doing that? Well, what's the difference between this function and this function? There's really none here, except if I click in here, let's go to my tooltips. What about my column index? What am I really looking for? Am I looking for the first name? No, I'm looking for the last name. So what is the column index for last name in this array? Well, it's simply 1, 2. So in column 2 of this array is where I find my last names and what I really want Excel to return based on the Vlookup. So I put a 2 in there, and I'm going to hit enter, because if I click in the cell, it'll actually put that cell in there. And now it's going to give me Michael Vick. That's exactly what I want. So now, since I have my absolute cell references, I can simply grab the fill handle and drag down, and I get Michael all the way. What did I do wrong? Huh. Well, it's comparing G5 every time. That's not what I want. Okay, so let's undo that. Whoops. Excuse me. So, excuse me. I do not want the absolute cell reference of 5. I do want the absolute cell reference of G, but let's take away the absolute cell reference of 5. And now when I take my tooltip and I drag this down, it's going to go G5, G6, G7, G8, G9, G10, G11, G12. It's going to make those changes automatically. And now you see we get all the first names based on what it is we were looking for. Here, I'm going to get Vic all the way, right? Yeah, so we got to do the same thing here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to come up here to last name. I'm going to take away the absolute cell reference from column G5, and I'm going to go ahead and click enter to get out of it. And now I got Michael Vick. And so now what I want to do is I want to take this formula, drag it straight down, and we should get everybody's names. And that's the Vlookup. Really actually very simple. I want to thank you for watching an IT Tech video, and please come back for some more. Your feedback is also always welcome and appreciated. Again, thank you.